If you're interested in learning how I launched Zim Excellence, then you're in luck. Sign up for my podcast workshop and learn how it's easier and more affordable than ever to start a podcast. Also, grab yourself a copy of my podcast resource guide, which covers industry terminology, suggested tech setup, in addition to countless free online resources to support your podcast journey. Just head to vongai.com/podcast creation. That's vongai.com/podcast creation. The link will also be down in the show notes. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for part 2.
We can be better off.
It's this idea of not only representation, but also the power that it has on the future generations. I always say that as an actor and a storyteller, it is an honor and a privilege and a responsibility for me to be telling people stories. Like, it isn't light matter, especially if you're working with heavy subject material like slavery or apartheid, or even if you're just working with like everyday material that may seem light, this has been someone's experience, or could be someone's experience. And in another life, it could have been your experience.
Yeah.
So I am definitely for this idea of giving back in whatever ways that we can. I have this photograph of myself as a 5-year-old. Whatever I do, I'm like doing for her. Like, I'm fulfilling all the dreams and the desires she had and letting her know that it is possible for her. And while I am also doing it for the next generations to say, oh, hey, it is possible for there to be, I don't know, a Zimbabwean astronaut, a Zimbabwean actor, a Zimbabwean rugby player, a Zimbabwean physicist or something. We can't like close ourselves to say, oh, it's not possible for us, when it definitely is possible for us. So with having been an athlete, well, you're still an athlete, even though you don't practice, you're still an athlete. Well, with being an athlete, behind the scenes, there's always a lot of sacrifice. And I know there's hard work involved and there's financial uncertainty. I know there definitely is with the arts. And with the sports, it definitely takes, in addition, a physical toll on the body. So with all of that said, what do you wish more people were aware of when it comes to following a life of being in sports? Because it's, it's not all people like to think that it's glitz and glamour. Like, this person's playing soccer and they make this much money. Their life is great and it's settled and they have no problems, when that is not true.
Yeah, look, I'll always remember one of the things that my uncle always hammered in me was that, hey, it's important that you have a balanced life. Sport is great, but if you don't couple that with a good education and equip yourself, you're going to struggle. So I must say that is one advice that I did not particularly take. I think I wish that I had given more to my education than I did, because I think, as you rightly said, sport and the arts it's no glitz and glamour. It's not all glitz and glamour. Yes, you sacrifice a lot, and when it comes off, whether it be playing in front of thousands or you are performing in front of a sold out theater, that is great. But the challenge that we have as people in the entertainment industry, well, I'm not there anymore, but the people that are in the entertainment industry, is that what they do is only really there's a shelf life, and it's so important that when they have that opportunity, you got to maximize on, on whatever you have, whether it be in terms of earnings or the fact that, look, the one thing that I was really fortunate about is I've been able to build really good relationships with people. And I think I realized that I think when I first started playing, going to marketing events was a chore for me. I was like, oh man, I should be resting and getting myself prepared for the game. But instead, I have to go and chat to all these random people that I don't know. Then something like really a penny dropped. And I was like, hey, you know what? You're young, you are meeting with some of the most powerful corporates and entrepreneurs in the country, and those relationships are important. So what I started doing then was I saw it as, okay, I've got to make sure that I build these relationships because I'm going to need these relationships when my rugby is finished. And I think not enough. Sorry, I'm going a little bit back and forth, but not enough is being done to educate people that are in the sporting and entertainment industry, particularly when it comes to financial literacy. So yes, a lot of guys make really good money, but unfortunately, for all the money that's often made, if not all of it, most of it is gone. And by the time guys are finished, the guys are struggling. And unfortunately, because they have spent or whatever time that they've spent only focusing on that their particular craft, and the money is gone, when their careers are finished, they're having to start from scratch. Whereas maybe I look at myself, so I'm 37 now. Guys that I went to school with that are of the same age, they might not have earned as much as I was earning when I was 19, 20, and all of those younger years. But because they basically moved up the ranks in the corporate world, they are now at a stage where they could be at senior positions where they are now earning. They've been increasing their income in a nice gradual way. Whereas with the sport entertainment, you get here, and then when it finishes, it drops just like that. So I think financial literacy is something that is very, very important. And also, you know, once again, referring to the Bible talks about your talent will make room for you, and it does. But if it makes room for you, like now, I find myself, and I think many athletes find themselves in entertainment people that, so people recognize them because of what they did. So there will be the opportunities will be there where it's easy to. Okay, I'm saying easy. It's not quite easy, but it's easier to walk in an office and talk to a CEO of a top company. But that's as far as it goes. At the end of the day, the substance, your substance, what you bring to the table when you're in that office is what's going to keep you in the office. If what you've got to offer is not going to add to their bottom line, it's going to be like, hey, look, you're a great rugby player. We really like you. We loved watching you play. But thanks, huh? We'll chat again. Then that's all. That's all it's going to be. So I think that it's so important for youngsters that want to be involved in sport and the entertainment industry that um, you've got to make sure that you're developing yourself holistically, so that when you do make it, and you can make it, but the reality is that there's not a it's not like there's even, I mean, in rugby, each union right now can only employ 50 players at a time, and from that 50, average age is probably going to start. It's going to be about 23, and a rugby career, if you have a really good rugby career, you can play until you're about 35. So you can imagine those guys are going to be playing rugby for about 10 years, and bearing in mind that only 50 currently are being employed, are being contracted. So at any given time, maybe per season, maximum that a union would lose is between 5 and 10, but not more. That means that there's going to be 5 and 10 people getting into the new people getting in the system. So it's not easy to break in. So it's so sad to see at times guys that are involved in these different academies. That's all they're doing. They're just working hard to play, hopefully play rugby. And then if it doesn't work out, then they've wasted 3 years of their lives. And it's really sad.
I'm so glad that you brought to the table the idea of financial literacy and financial health, and the fact that we focus so much on our talents and our craft without thinking about the long term and the long game, because there aren't enough workshops, sessions, classes, or just information for both artists and athletes, people in sports, about, learning how to budget, learning how to save, learning how money works, just learning about all the things you need to have in place for a rainy day fund, or God forbid you get fired, or God forbid you're injured or whatever. So I grew up very much into the arts, and that's like pretty much all I know. When it comes to sports, I only know about the bigger teams like the LA Lakers or the Chicago Bulls and just the bigger names. And I've never been as aware of even the Zimbabwean local teams. How do you think that we could be more supportive as Zimbabweans of our national teams and like helping them get to those competitive global stages, aside from like financial support or sports education? How else do you think we could be more supportive of them as a Zimbabwean community? Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you have a message you want to share with the world, or you think, ooh, it could be fun to have my own talk show like Vongai, getting started is easier than ever. Here at Zim Excellence, we use Buzzsprout, which is hands down the easiest, most affordable, and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Start for free and list your show on directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more within minutes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping and teaching you to succeed. Just check out their YouTube videos. They are filled with tons of information. So join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Sign up today using the link in the show notes, or go to vongai.com/podcast creation, and you'll get a $20 credit if you sign up for a paid plan. It also helps support the show. So go ahead, sign up for Buzzsprout, and keep me posted on your new podcast. Now back to the show.
It's not just a Zim thing. I think it's a lot of our African countries also experience the same challenge. Is that we see others as better. I don't think we have enough national pride going around. So if you look at, I was assistant coach of the Zim rugby team up until 2019. But if you look at the support that we got for a national team, I would say we probably got maybe about 1,000, maximum 1,500 come and watch the national team playing. And yet, people demand that the team must perform with excellence, which they should. But there is quite a few things. In order to create a professional environment, you need resources. So now we've got, I'll use rugby because that's what I know. So you've got these youngsters that very talented, and Zim has got a lot of talent. They're not necessarily, some of them are working, but they're not working, they're not getting paid very well. And some of them are not working. Obviously, the unemployment rates are quite high in Zim. So if corporates don't get behind the team and give a little bit of financial support so that the teams, the coaching staff, the management can actually create an environment where guys can perform. I'll give you an example. So in 2019, the Zim Sables, or it wasn't quite the Sables brand, but the Zim rugby team basically came to South Africa, played in the local local tournament against some professional teams in South Africa. So there's a certain youngster that came in and he was a forward. And so in rugby, you got forwards and backs, and forwards are the big guys. This youngster, very talented, but he came in at 80, I think around 86 or so kgs, which is quite light. I mean, professional backs who are supposed to be the smaller ones, that's probably quite a small size for a back that plays professional rugby. But he was a forward, and this guy's got a lot of talent. So we were there for about 8 weeks because there was, you know what, we were fortunate that there was good funding that came in from Titan Law and from getting the mining company that Zerchu. You know what, they did a good job. This youngster in 8 weeks picked up nearly 10 kgs of hard muscle, and he performed so well. In fact, he performed so well that he actually ended up getting a scholarship to play for one of the universities here, and he's doing exceptionally well. And he wasn't the only one. So many guys, just because they had the resources, that just because we had the resources, were actually able to hold their own against professional teams. But without the financial support of the corporates, without the public going out to go and support the teams, uh, hey, go and pay a little bit of money to go and support your team so that that money can then be filtered back into the system. And not just about the money, but just go and support your team. I mean, playing in front of 1,000 people is certainly different to playing in front of 10 to 20,000 people. Imagine it gives you that you feel like you are playing with an extra arm and a leg when you're playing in front of a big crowd. You know, so I think it's it's easy for all of us to want to demand excellence out of our sports teams, but then everybody's got a part to play, whether it be corporates giving funding for the sports teams to actually function, to the crowd actually going to go and buy the jersey, going to go and support the players when they play. I mean, it goes a long way. So I think that if we gave a little bit more support to our teams as opposed to, so let's say, how many Manchester United supporters do we have in Zim? How many Chelsea supporters do we have in Zim? You'll find a lot of the supporters who have a Manchester United jersey, shorts, cap, whatever memorabilia that they can, and it's expensive. But then, how many guys have got a Dynamos jersey or a Caps United towel, whatever the case may be? So we would rather spend money on people that already have money that contribute absolutely nothing to us except just the emotional connection of, oh, I'm a Manchester United supporter. And I'm not saying that we mustn't support other teams, but we are very quick to support those that already have and that are doing well. Our own teams, we don't look at them, we're like, oh no, they're rubbish. And because we have so little expectations of our own, we are going to get very little results, or rather substandard results, as a as the outcome. So I just think we need to find a little bit more pride in ourselves as Zimbabweans, and we need to get behind our teams and support them in whatever way that we can.
I want to be respectful of your time, but I love where we were going with this conversation. But to be respectful of your time, I have two more questions and then we have a speed round. So I know that you're someone who is very strong in their faith when times were hard to help you keep going, especially because you left Zimbabwe, which meant you left your comfort zone and maybe your family to then move to South Africa and start your life there and continue your career there. How was your faith able to be a part of that?
So my faith is the one thing that has kept me going. And in saying that, I think I must put a disclaimer out there. I am far, far, far from perfect. I think if you hang around long enough with me, you'll realize that. But in saying that, I think I've really been fortunate. For me, my faith and my belief in God is not a choice per se. It's who I am. And it is the one thing that has carried me. So you mentioned from when I look at the hand of God that has been on my life, from a rural boy in the village to going into town, and from there, just moving over to South Africa, and I always look, going back home. Uh, every time I go back home, I am so humbled because I look at the guys that I went to, that I grew up with, that I went to school, primary school with, prior to my Blakiston times. Uh, and I see them and I'm like, jeepers, this could have been me. This could have been me. I could have been here in Zmuto, heading cattle, um, you know, just not doing much, not doing much. So it really humbles me that, hey, you know what? I have been privileged and I've been blessed to be placed where I am. And yes, I've worked hard. Yes, I've done this. But how many people work hard? Uh, Majority of people are poor and are struggling, not because they are lazy, but because opportunities just don't come their way. So I look at where I am now, and it's because of my faith that has brought me here. It's because of the favor of God that has brought me here. Even if I look at, obviously, I've been married now for like 12 years. Finished rugby about 5 or so years ago. And the transition from playing professional rugby to the business world was very, very tough, very extremely tough. And you know what? Towards the end of my career, I would say the last 2 3 years, I wasn't earning like great salary. I was earning, it was okay, but I wasn't. You can't make enough in rugby to retire from. You simply can't. And I had a whole lot of plans that I'd set out, but things just didn't go as I planned. And life was very tough. I was fortunate that, and I'm very fortunate and blessed to have an incredible wife, and she is amazing. She's stuck by me through everything, and it's really my faith that when things were going really, really tough, if I didn't have that, because so how many people do you hear? Oh, when things were tough, I started drinking, I started doing that, and I started doing that. But I always believe that what, no matter what, God is gonna see me through this period, and I'm going through what I'm going through now. I know that it's preparing me for where I'm going. So yes, I think just like any child, I can be naughty sometimes. But I know that I have got a Father above who loves me, and I love Him, and it's my faith in Him that has kept me going.
I love that so much. It's definitely faith and having that mindset to keep going through all the tough times. What advice would you have for someone listening right now who might be thinking, I want to do what Tonderai does, I want to be in business, or I want to go play rugby? But they're not quite sure where to start. Are there any resources or classes or clubs or books even that you could recommend to them?
Look, I think in terms of someone, a youngster that wants to play professional rugby, look, I think just like anything, it's not really just about rugby. I think if you listen to any successful people, they'll tell you about the sacrifices, the hard work, a lot of things a lot of work that you put in that nobody else sees. And if you're not willing to do that, because at times it's not even just about talent. I always say that I was not, I think in Zim, so post-colonial eras, there's only been myself, Beast, Brian Mujati, Kennedy Timber, and a few other youngsters that are playing. I wouldn't say there's more than 15 guys that have made it in professional rugby, but I look at myself and I say, okay, I had some talent, but I was not necessarily the most talented person before my time or after my time. But I've always dedicated myself to my craft. I've worked hard. I've had a teachable spirit because at times, guys are very talented, but then they think they know it all. So they don't want to listen to anyone. They don't necessarily feel that they need to put in extra work. I'll tell you what. So one of my one of the things that really helped me to be noticed and to be given a chance was it was on a Wednesday afternoon, and normally Wednesday afternoons are off for rugby. You're normally off, so you train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday you have a light session, on Saturday you play. So we had an off day on a Wednesday, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go and put in some extra work. I'm gonna run. So I think it was probably about a 3 to 4K run to the stadium and to go and run up and down the stairs. And it was during that time that I was busy training and no one else was at the stadium that the Springbok under 21 team then their bus rolled in, they started training. I would have been about 19 at the time. And then, Lord and behold, the coach then calls me, and he says, "Hey, I remember you from when you were playing at St. John's, when you were playing for Pensero at St. John's at the St. John's Festival. What are you doing now?" And all of that. Okay, I'm gonna be looking out for you. So it was. Had I decided, now today's my off day, I would not have met Jake White, who then ended up giving me an opportunity to play for the for the SA under 21 and play for the Springboks. And it was because I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and put in the extra work that I got that opportunity. So at times, you've always got to be you've got to not at times you've just got to go above and beyond to get to where you want to, and obviously, like I said earlier, making it in rugby it's only a stepping stone because you only got about 10 to 15 years of your life in that space. But what are you going to do afterwards? So it's very important that you find what your passion is. Not everyone is an academic, but you can certainly, and you don't have to necessarily go to university to make a success out of your life, but you can certainly equip yourself in a way that you can make it. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know if I gave the right advice, but really hard work. There is no beating hard work. Yeah.
I love it. It is a great reminder that it's not just the opportunity, it is what you do with the opportunity. And it is also being ready for when the opportunity comes. Okay, it is time for our speed round. I'm just going to give you some quick little questions. You're just going to answer them. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Cheapers. Okay. Shucks. Okay, that's not. I don't. Supposed to be quick, huh?
Okay, we'll skip it. Favorite Zimbabwean musician?
Oliver Mtukudzi.
Favorite Zimbabwean childhood snack?
Things. Flings. Sorry, flings. Is it not
Yeah,
things?
things,
Things.
things. What was the last book that you read?
I actually just got my daughter Rich Dad Poor Dad. She's 11.
What's it called?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, if you weren't in business or you weren't in rugby, what do you think you'd be doing with your life? Think of this as an alternate reality, your other interests.
You're making it very hard for me.
I'm so sorry. Would it be animation? Would you be back in our industry?
Yeah, look, definitely. I think I would be involved in something to do with just equipping the next generation. Yeah,
Sweet. Okay, the next
not
one
quite sure what.
the next one is a statement that you have to fill out. I am Zim excellence because blank, and you have to fill out the blank. It is a power statement.
I am Zim Excellence because the Zim blood runs through my veins.
Love that. If you could nominate someone for the award of Zim excellence, who would it be?
Tonderai.
Sweet. And if you could nominate someone to come on our show, who would it be?
Tonderai.
Sweet stuff. Okay. Is there one final message as we wrap up that you'd like to share with our listeners, as well as where they can continue to follow your journey? Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Geez. Firstly, thank you for the conversation. I think yeah, it was good going back, going down memory lane. In terms of following my journey, I don't know. I'm not really big on socials. I'm not that active. Yeah, I don't even know what my social media handles are.
Don't worry, I have all of them. They'll be
But
in the
yeah,
show notes.
I'm sure. Yeah, but yeah, look, I'm excited about Zim. I'm excited to be doing. I'm gonna be definitely doing a lot more business in Zim. Um, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm busy working with the Masawara group at the moment. We've got some really exciting projects that we're going to be doing with, particularly with the Young Farmers Association. Also busy planning on starting a membership club for young entrepreneurs in Zim. So yeah, really excited about being on that journey. I think it's one thing for. I think a lot of us have got so many things to say about how things are not right, but not enough of us are willing to actually get in the ring and get their hands dirty and actually do something about it. So yeah, I'm really excited about being part of the solution, and I think yes, politically, the politics plays its part, but I think we can all play our part, and I think it's really through business that we can change our country. At the end of the day, people need to eat, and parents need to send their children to school. So, and business is going to do that. So, I would definitely want to play more of a role in that space.
Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for all that you represent, all that you stand for being so giving with your information and like sharing of your journey. I look forward to you one day having a biopic because I know it's going to be super inspirational. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Vongai. Much appreciated. And I wish you nothing but the best. Looking forward to seeing you dominating the big and the small screens. And yeah, if there's any way that I can be of assistance, please give me a shout, and I'll be happy to help.
Thank y'all so much for coming to the party. Majita tatenda siabonga. Nah, for real. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Zim Excellence. If you found value from this episode, please share it with a friend and go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I'll make sure to give you a shout out on future episodes. Feel free to tag us on Instagram at Zim Excellence Podcast. And if you identify as Zimbabwean, I want to hear your story. So go ahead and email zimexcellencepodcast@gmail.com. Till then, have the best week and stay Zim Excellent.